Head over to miniaturemarket.com. They have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Search for Lost Species. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to start in outer space, looking at asteroids and comets and trying to find Planet X, and then we're going to be going down to an island and looking for one of the many different lost species, going on boats, walking on the islands, going to the towns. Because Renegade Game Studios is about to be coming out with the Search for Lost Species, which is a sequel by the same designers who did Search for Planet X, which is the best deduction game ever made. And so I'm going to be going over the differences between these two games and how they are very similar in many regards. They're also very different in other regards too. So I'm going to point out those differences and tell you which things I liked best and then which things I didn't like as much in this new one. And then kind of give you some guiding as to, like, you know, if you have one, do you need the other? If you don't have any, which one should you get with? So now I've done an official rule school for both of these videos. So here I'm just going to give you a quick 1 minute overview of both of these, and then I'll see you on the other side. The Search for Planet X is a logic and deduction game for 1 to 4 players where you're trying to have the most points in the end. Each game you'll be getting some starting information that's different from all the other players. This will help you start to deduce where Planet X might be or might not be. But over the course of the game, you're going to be researching different objects through different sectors to narrow things down. You can also spend a lot of time to target a specific sector to find out exactly what's in it, but only twice per game. You can also research to find out other logic rules that are specific to this game. You'll be able to submit theories, gaining you points, but also giving other players more information. And once you've narrowed it down, it's not just the first player to find Planet X to win, because other players can also try to find it and/or theories to help even the score. There's an expert mode that brings more sectors and more objects with tougher logic, as well as a solo mode against a bot that really makes you feel like you're playing against another player because it actually learns based upon your theories. And the app really helps the game, giving you secret information and making sure you don't get any wrong answers. The Search for Lost Species is a 1 to 4 player deduction game where each game you're going to be searching for one of these lost species, each with a different logic rule, keeping every game fresh and different. You'll be surveying by boat on the coastal regions, or by foot going around mountains because they block adjacency, or moving to a town, giving you help from the locals, sometimes giving you an immediate ability, end-game scoring, or a one-time ability, or sometimes even ongoing abilities. You'll be tracking all this information on a note sheet behind your player shield, keeping everything secret. And you'll be learning things secretly from a free companion app that makes sure that you never get an incorrect answer. Over the course of the game, you'll be placing sightings that you hope to be correct, because later on, if they prove to be, you'll get points for this at the end of the game, and if you're the first one to do it, you'll be getting bonus points. Each area has either one animal in it, or it's truly empty. Animals have specific logic rules which help you deduce where the lost species is, and every game has different research for unlimited replayability, and you're trying to get the most points by finding a lost species and confirming sightings, and not always the first player to do it will win. Now before I get into my final thoughts, I just wanted to tell you about how you can protect yourself and your family online with Aura, who is sponsoring these final thoughts. Now there's a lot of different ways to protect yourself online, but Aura brings all of these to you in one place. They feature a virtual private network known as a VPN, a password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, internet parental controls, and protects your devices from malware. And you can try a 2-week free trial to take advantage of all those services, as well as seeing how many data brokers are selling your personal information online and that they'll resolve on your behalf. And you can do this by scanning the QR code right here on the screen, or by going to aura.com/GameBoyGeek, and Aura is A-U-R-A. All right, let's get into this. I'm just gonna be talking about the differences here. Obviously the theme. You've got space and species. This is gonna be a very personal decision. I like the species theme better, so I'm more attracted to that one. You may be, your mileage may vary, you might be the opposite, and there's probably lots of people that are that way. But for me, obvious difference is the theme. So let's go into more of the play. The abstract movement of this new game, where you are setting yourself up and you're moving. You're going certain distances away from which area you're in, you know, sort of like little hexes, and you're moving around. Sometimes you can move through the middle of the island by walking, but it takes longer, so you don't go as far. Or you can use by boat, and you have to stay on the coast, but you can go further. different ways of moving, and you have that abstract movement, which is an interesting puzzle, because if you want to go find something, you're like, I can't just do that right now. I probably need to boat up here, maybe I can check something there, and then I can go over there and check something like that. Now this is very different from, say, the visible sky wheel. And you're no longer at the mercy of the visible sky. In Planet X, this thing would be turning. Now you had an idea, like on your next turn, you'd be like, okay, I can only see, these 6, right? And then next turn, by the time I get there, that one's gonna open up. So it wasn't random. You could look at it and go, oh, I really wanna find out about Sector 3, but I can't do it this turn. I'll probably be able to, if I do this turn and I move 4, then next turn I'll be able to do it. So you could still plan for it, but it's a little less, it makes you feel like you have less control over it, which I'm still not convinced you really do have less control. I mean, you do, because it's just going around in a circle, where here you have more control over it. But it wasn't a huge thing, but I do like the abstract movement, for sure. It just gives a different level of puzzle of moving around the island. I welcome this change. I like this better than just going to a sector and moving the visible sky, for sure. This next one's the thing I like the best about it, and man, do I wish Planet X had this. The town cards. When you go to the towns, it's so awesome, because these cards are giving you either abilities or they're giving you end game bonus focuses. You're trying to find things in certain terrains. You're trying to find certain things, like, hey, you get an extra point for every lorry that you've found. And I love that, because it gives you focus or lets you use cool abilities. And it just took this game to another level. It's so clever. It works so well. It doesn't bog the game down as much. This is my favorite part of the new one. Another thing is each species has its own rules. So each game, you're going to pick a species, and that species will always have its own rule, and in addition to all the other different things that make the game different. But it's just one more level of variability. Plus, you're going to kind of be tied. Someone might really like the owl. They just, they kind of want to play the owl. You play the owl every game if you want. It doesn't matter. There's a million different games you'll play with the owl. Just because their rule is different doesn't mean the game's going to be the same. But I like that you can kind of pick your favorite animal, and they're all different. And that's another cool twist as well. And the different terrain types. So now you've got, the mountains and the swamps and things like that. And those are going to be giving you different types of clues. You're going to be learning different things. Sometimes a lot of species is it next to a certain terrain type or something else. It just gives you another thing to think about. So those are the things, those are all the changes about this game that I liked better than Planet X. And keep this in mind. Search for Planet X is my #1 deduction game of all time. And it was in my top 10 games of all time. Like, ridiculous. I've played thousands of games. It's in the top 10. I love that game. So to have this many things in a new version I like better is actually quite phenomenal. But let me tell you about the things that I didn't like quite as much. Putting out and resolving the sightings. There were theories, called theories in Planet X, and there's sightings here. Planet X, it was so streamlined. You put it on the outer ring, right, of where you're placing it. Then everything just sort of moves straight down the ring, and when it gets to the end, you flip them over and you do it. It was such a clever, streamlined way to facilitate all this. Because you have the abstract nature of the map, there's no easy way to do that with this, right? Because they're going to be in different things, they're going to be all other things, and you're grabbing these tokens, you're grabbing a token of the number that the person's on, then you're finding that token number, then you're putting it on the lands, and different lands are going to have the same token types because different people are claiming different things, and they're all over the place, and some terrain's going to have multiple tokens of the same number, maybe even tokens of multiple numbers, and it just looks like a mess, and it really bogs down the game. It really makes it like figuring out and walking through all of these things in each sighting. It just took something that was so elegant in the original, and it's a lot more fiddly now. Now, it doesn't break the game. It doesn't distract me from playing the game, but it definitely takes what is otherwise a very streamlined design and muddies the water a little bit. It's definitely not... It's a pain in the butt to sort of manage, and it's a little clunky. It's just not as streamlined. I understand why they had to do it that way, because now it's, you got a map in all these different regions and different things, different sightings happen at different time. It was just so clever before. You put on the ring, slide them over. So I don't like that part about this at all, really. The basic map. Okay, here's another thing. In Planet X, the basic map had 2 empty sectors. If you go to the advanced side, it had 5 empty sectors. I found personally with Planet X, if I played the basic map, but I played it at the hardest level, meaning you get 0 information at the beginning of the game's hard enough. And when I say hard, I mean it's challenging, but yet it's still fun. When I went to the expert side of that, it was harder, but not in a more fun way. Because as you're finding things like the asteroids and the comets and stuff, you're finding how those things react to other things, right? When you find an empty sector, it's like, it's empty, whatever. And there's more than twice of those on that back map. I found finding empty sectors made the game harder, but it made it harder in a way that wasn't more fun for me. With this new version, because they had, because of the abstract nature of the map and the boats and the moving fast on the boats on the coast and this, they had to make the map big enough to make all that work. And because they had to make the map big enough to make it work, even the beginner map has 5 empty areas or regions. Which means, again, a lot of times you're finding empty sectors and it's just like, especially when you're using that target token. You find that, or I forget what it's called in this version. When you put there, you spend the 4 time and you just get to find out what's there, it looks empty. It happens so much more often. But even when you're not using that and you're going through things, just finding empty sectors, sure, it gets you closer, but not quite as better as if you had found something, but it's also just not as fun. So even on the easy map, it's less fun, but it's harder. But again, not more fun in a better way, I don't know. I'm torn on this one. And the last thing is the research. So in the original, many of the research actions that you take would link 2 things together. So it's great, you found the comets, great, I'm gonna go do the research that links comets to something else. Or at the beginning of the game, you're looking at which thing is linked to more things, and you're going, I'm gonna go after that one first, because once I find that, there's plenty of research that will help me dovetail out to other things. And it kind of gave you a natural progression, and it just had this feeling of, great, I got this done, and this will help me get this, and this helps me get this. Kind of feels like combo building, which is always a dopamine hit when you're playing board games. This game very rarely were there researchers or things that had things linked together. There are some once in a while, but most of the time, and in a lot of the games, there'll be none. They're always just one. And again, the game's already a little bit harder because you've got 5 empty regions, and then to do that, you only have things that don't link together. So I find this thing, and now I'm going to go research to find this other thing, but it doesn't link to what I already found. It's just, again, it's harder, but not in a more fun way. So I'm really torn on this because the things that I like better about Lost Species are amazingly better. I love it. The things I don't like really take it down for me. But in the end, I still love both of these games because I love deduction games. And it's amazing that these games are so similar in so many ways, but yet they still invoke the differences that make them feel very different from each other. And I'm torn because after playing this 6 or 7 times, the Lost Species, I went back and played Planet X twice to help me go through this. If you put both of those on the table and you say pick one, I'm probably still gonna pick Planet X just because of the reasons that I mentioned. But I do love Lost Species, and I think some people will like Lost Species better. If not just for the theme, all the things that are good. Some people that I talk to, that I know, will never play Planet X on the easier side of the board. They always play the expert side. They always like the 5 empty sectors. Those people, if you like the theme of this, you're gonna like Lost Species better. If you don't have either of these, theme's gonna be a big one, because again, both of these games are amazing. If you are really tied to one theme over the other, go with that one if you don't have one of the games, because it's gonna be amazing to you anyway. I'm breaking these down because I know these games like the back of my hand, and I love deduction, all the little nooks and crannies of these types of games. If you have Search for Planet X, do you need Lost Species? It's a tough one. If you are really drawn to the theme and you think some of these other mechanisms are things that you're gonna like, and you play enough deduction games, a lot of them, that you're gonna want both of these, I think it warrants it. If you don't play a whole lot of deduction games and Planet X is one of the few that you do have that you do like, you probably don't need this other one, right? And so that's where I'm at. I am torn. I think I'm gonna keep both of them, and I will still play both of them, and I love both of them, but they're just different, So I don't know, that's a tough one for me. But that's what I think of breaking this down. Hopefully this has helped you figure out which one might be better for you, or if you should get this if you have Planet X. It's been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games, and helping you on the next one you'll love. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table into a high-quality gaming solution, but they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with over 20 styles of thematic game mats in 11 different sizes from notable board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and real cool accessories, experience what thousands of other gamers enjoy by upgrading every game you play with a Game Topper system. Save hundreds of dollars on Game Topper package deals that are in stock now for immediate shipping at GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.